Okay. Are you guys seeing the AirDNA?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I do have a spreadsheet on my second screen that I'll be sharing with you guys as well. All right, so let's get started. When I shared last time with you guys the initial entering a market, browsing into a market, and trying to identify where exactly in the US I want to invest in next, I mentioned just taking a look at the Rentalizer and some other free data assets that AirDNA provides. However, when you do determine, okay, I have a property, I want to put a down payment on, I'm going to put an offer in, and you're ready to go, when you're really, really ready to go, I do highly recommend that you purchase the AirDNA Market Minder. And so whenever I'm going to purchase a property, especially a market I'm not familiar with, I do purchase the Market Minder. And I don't keep my subscription year round or anything like that. What's great about it is that there's no contract. It's about $100 a month, which is a lot, but I typically just purchase it for the 30 days that I am purchasing a property, and then I cancel my subscription. Okay, and so with that being said, the first place you get to when you open up the Market Minder, the purchase kind, again, not the free kind, the purchase kind is what you'll need. The first thing you'll see is the market grade, the average daily rate, occupancy rate, and the revenue. Okay, so what goes into the market grade is the rental demand, the rental growth, the seasonality, the regulation, and investability. And so this is going to be partially a case study as well, because I do have a property that I am a lot that I'm building on, and I did purchase AirDNA to try to not only identify if it was going to be a good property, I also purchased it 6 months every quarter just to look at my pricing, to ensure that I am still priced competitively, to make sure I'm getting my cash on cash and I'm profitable. So on this first screen, I just want to highlight a few things for you. First of all, when you look at average daily rate, and guys, I want this to be as interactive as possible, so please feel free to stop me at any time so that we can go over this information. I just want to show you initially what I do. I don't drill into every single thing. It's not all exactly needed, but I'm just going to show you what I do as I walk through the process. Okay, average daily rate, I don't typically look, I take this as a grain of salt, because first of all, it identifies the daily rate of all properties within that market, within the zip code, within the city. And so the average daily rate is $371 per day. And this includes studio condos, 1-bedroom condos, all the way to oceanfront 10-bedroom homes. So this is like comme ci, comme ça for me. Occupancy rate, this is great. Anything above 50% is great. Even at 49%, I can deal with that. When the occupancy rate is around 30-something% is where I get concerned. So a friend of mine asked me about a property that had was in LaGrange, Georgia. When we looked up that area, it was at a 30-something% rate. That's concerning for me. Even at 60% rate, there are some methodologies that I can use to bring this all the way up to 80, 85, 90, 100% occupancy, if that's what I desire. However, if we're all the way down at 35% occupancy, it's going to be really hard to overcome that to bring it up to profitability. And revenue, I don't take too much stock into this at all. Active rental, so this is, you know, very, very busy market, as you can tell here. There's a lot of density here. And to be honest with you, so far, you know, I haven't seen anything that is too of interest. However, when I get down here, this is a big deal for me right here, the rental channels. So most people, it seems like almost half is booking on Verbo and only a quarter is booking on Airbnb. So it's like double the booking on Vrbo versus Airbnb, and 32% is booking on both. So this tells me a lot. Here's what this tells me. Vrbo is like the old school booking platform of vacation rentals, so short-term rentals. So it tells me that the houses or the population or the managers are probably a part of that older mindset. Since my primary booking platform is Airbnb, it tells me that I could really give them a run for their money and be very, very competitive because I use both Airbnb and Vrbo. So whatever numbers I encounter, I can do bigger and I can do better. That's what that tells me here. So not a lot of people are using Airbnb. They're primarily using Vrbo. As you know, Airbnb is like the Google for short-term rentals. When someone's thinking short-term rental, they go to Airbnb first. And so imagine the market share that's being missed by the 77% that aren't using Airbnb. And so that's really, really telling for me. The next thing I look at, I take a glance at the amount of bedrooms. So a lot of 3 bedrooms, not too many 4, and definitely not a lot of 5. We've got a few studios. And so these are interesting. And I look at rental growth, that's interesting. The next big thing for me is amenities, okay? So when I look at the amenities, I find this to be a little bit controversial here in the US. I know that sometimes when we do, when we look at properties overseas, for instance, in Italy or some of those countries, AC, they call it like aircon, AC, heating, that kind of thing is a true amenity. But here in the US, this is really considered a basic. Okay, so I don't see any amenities here. We have washer, dryer, kitchen, parking, internet. I don't see any amenities here. These are called basics, in my opinion. Cable, to be honest with you, that is an amenity, and it is something that I do not have available in my Georgia rentals, but on the beach, it's definitely an amenity that I make available to the population there. Pool is definitely an amenity. It is a huge amenity, and hot tub is an amenity as well, but I've never seen a hot tub at a property on the beach. So this is most likely in a condo. Oh, it looks like we have a question. Heather, did you have a question?
I don't see the amenities. I see rental growth and then it stops on that screen at least.
Okay, let me refresh. I guess I'm frozen. Did anyone else see amenities?
I'm having other issues, so.
Oh man. Oh no.
They're on my end though, I can tell.
I do not see them.
I still see that same, it stops at rental growth.
Okay.
Is it maybe sharing a tab that's different?
No, I just was scrolling up. So
Okay, weird.
I mean, I'm going to kill it altogether. Do you guys see where I killed the browser?
Nope.
I'm going to quit my other browsers to see if that helps. Let me know if you see any change at all.
I'm not seeing anything. I'm gonna log out and log back in, Rachel.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for stopping me, because I would hate to just keep talking and, and nothing's on here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in the amenities, so that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Still nothing?
nope.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes. Well, at least there's an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, so man, what a severe lag time we got going on here. Okay, it is all good. Do you see
Yep,
Google?
I see your Google now. Yep.
Okay, so let me log back into AirDNA. So I go to airdna.co. I log in. Okay. Stop having issues. Okay. Can you see amenities now?
Yes.
Awesome. So, okay. Awesome. All right. So these are just the standard amenities. I see them listing on all of the data that they're aggregating. Now, of course, when you go into Airbnb, you can certainly, and we'll look at this too in a few weeks, you can certainly filter to see what your competition is, because Airbnb is wonderful in that it is a sharing economy type of application. However, there is competition as well, because you want to see what others are doing, make sure that you're either appreciating or depreciating the value of your property based on what you have to offer. Okay. All right. So again, pool and hot tub. Okay. So let me give you guys a couple caveats. In this particular market, the beach market, I'm going to be honest with you, it says pool, but bear in mind that it does not, and this is something I really struggled with, it does not stratify private pool versus community pool. Okay, and that is a big deal, especially right now. Like if someone's looking for a private pool, they're looking for a private pool, right? It just says pool. So it could be a pool that's, you know, a part of the condo where everyone has access to, or it could very well be a house with its very own pool. So that's a big deal. And we'll drill down into exactly how to identify that on our own. And hot tub, again, hot tubs, I have not seen a property personally that has a hot tub on the beach. Typically, this would be a hot tub that is a part of a condo, and it just has 14% has hot tubs. Well, there's a hot tub, technically, yes, but it's a part of a condo. Okay. Heather, you had a question?
Yeah, just curious. So I have fiber internet and I noticed they just say internet. Like, would that be considered more of a luxury?
If it's fast, super fast, yeah, that'll be great. That's something that you definitely want to advertise, and even take a picture of perhaps the speed test and put that as part of your photos.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. And internet is a big deal, honestly. You wouldn't think so, but some of these areas, especially the new construction area, the internet is poor, it's terrible. And now that a lot of folks are flexcationers, they can take their kids with them and they're on vacation, but they're in conference calls all day, but they can kind of hang out and chill in the evening. That internet is going to be key for them to still be productive and kind of be able to work wherever they are. You know, we're at the age of digital nomadism again. Okay, and so I really don't look too deep into these next two. I do take a glance at the cancellation property, and that's pretty much what I look at on first glance, just trying to see where the numbers are, profitability wise, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much my overview. Again, rental channel is big for me. I'm looking at amenities is another big deal as well. Okay, so next let's jump into occupancy. Okay, so occupancy is going to be very important. And what I want to take a look at is the historical occupancy rates. With the occupancy, even in the beach towns or like Vail, Colorado, the snow, ski lodges where all the beautiful chalets are, or in the mountains, even in urban areas, I have not seen across the board a consistent 12-month occupancy rate across the board, or a consistent 12-month average daily rate across the board. Even in those markets, in the secondary markets, there's going to be some fluctuations in and occupancy and average daily rate and seasonality, there's going to be a few, you know, some fluctuations. So depending on what the market is, you want to know what your peak months are, and you want to know what seasonality looks like, and you want to know what your, some markets actually have second peak. And so this beach area has peak and it has second peak that I believe it drives it to anywhere from 9 to 11 months, you know, where you're very, very profitable, and maybe 1 or 2 months where the rates are a bit lower, but you're still profitable the majority of the year. And so again, case study and use case, we'll use the property that I'm in the process of constructing. And I don't check the 25 or 50 percentile. I usually do the 75 to 90th percentile because again, I have systems in place. I have a whole process that I utilize to ensure that our properties are profitable. And that's part of this workshop. You guys will see. And bedrooms, that's going to be 5 bedrooms, and accommodations up to 14 or so is where we landed in here, entire home. And when I select apply, okay, you can see here around July of 2018, you were at 100% occupancy rate for the top 90th percentile as well as the 75th percentile. However, in January, you were at 98% occupancy rate for the top 90th percentile and only 41% occupancy rate for the 75th percentile. And so what differentiates you from being a 75th percenter versus a 90th percenter? Again, it's going to be understanding the market and having the amenities in place so that you are, or you become the top property within that area. There are certain things that are within your control, other things that you can't control, such as proximity, visibility of the ocean, those types of things. However, there are so many other amenities that you can add on, so many perks, so many sizzle features that you can add on to really bring your property to the highest possible value. Okay, so again, the seasonality we're seeing here, December and January again. However, across the board, let's see, February, March. So it kind of goes June, July, August seems to be the higher points. August, it starts to taper down, and you can kind of look at that pattern. And so that gives you a lot of just visibility of what's going on in that particular market. Debbie, did you have a question?
I do. I don't think I'm understanding the 75th and the 90th percentile as much. So when you're looking at this information, you're just assuming that you're going to be in the 75th and 90th percentile?
Absolutely. So if you're not, then you're average, right? So the average person, they throw their property on Airbnb and they keep it moving, right? So they're not going to do things to drive profitability. Like for instance, if you look at this number in the very beginning, this is the average daily rate of all the properties. From those who are laymen, I would call it, to those who are professionals. Okay, so you're in this workshop because you're a professional. You want to do everything in your power to drive the property to make sure that you're at above market rates, really. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about throughout the workshops is how to make sure that your property is at the top in terms of revenue, in terms of occupancy, in terms of demand. One of the most profitable profitable properties within your region. So the 50% percentile is like if my mom decided she just wanted to do Airbnb, she cleaned it up, it's average. You're not that person, right? You're gonna, put some research into it, identify the best properties, and make sure that you're adding value, what the value proposition is, to make sure that you are, above average, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And so we'll go into demand growth in a little bit, but I do want to jump into rates. Rate to me, guys, is really the most important. I really spend a lot of time in this section here in the average daily rate section. Again, this is looking at all the properties, whether it's a studio or 10 bedroom. So I don't really worry about this legend kind of up here. Where I go is down here. So you can see for all of the properties, the rates, this is like $400 per night and so on and so forth. And of course, it's going to vary based on market, guys. Okay. So we're actually doing a 1031 exchange. We sold a property. So, we're slowly graduating up. And so this next property is probably going to be one of the most expensive properties that I own in this decade. And so it is 5 bedrooms. Okay. And it is going to house 14. And so every time I leave the tab and I go back, remember to adjust for your particular property and apply changes. So that changes significantly. Okay. So in March of 2018, the ADR was 586. Remember June, July, August. So June was 802. The average daily rate in July was 826. And August 740 was the average daily rate. And so in 2019, 770, 760, and 661 was the average daily rate. 2020, 797, 813, and 740 was the average daily rate. And again, I want to emphasize this is average, and I know it seems like a lot, but the homes in this area are extremely expensive. So to me, to get my cash on cash return, I'm going to want to make my own enhancements to ensure that I'm getting even more than that from an average daily rate perspective. So think of it this way. AirDNA is looking at, and it quantifies pretty much the location, number of beds, number of bathrooms, number of guests, and that's pretty much it when it gives you an average of what you can potentially make in an area. But as we discussed, Debbie, we're not going to be average, right? And so what are some of the things that I can add in order to increase my value proposition? What are the things that I can do in order to make my property stand out from a competitive perspective? So Airbnb gives you the average, Airbnb gives you the average. So here are some of the things that I add to my property and what I'm adding to this particular one. There's hardly any room for a swimming pool. There is a pool within the community, but I am going to squeeze in the tiniest pool that I possibly can, even a dipping pool. Because right now, especially with COVID, a lot of hygienic considerations are out there. A public pool is not going to be the most desirable. We will be adding a pool, and the pool is going to be an extra $20,000, but we calculated the ROI, we're going to get that back for sure. Extra amenities such as unobstructed view. If there's an unobstructed view to the ocean, that's not taken into consideration. So this is, again, this is your average. However, if there's an unobstructed view, you're going to want to add on to it. Some properties have a boat launch, some are walking distance to the water, some provide kayaks, some have hot tubs. A new construction, that's not taken into consideration either, but a new construction is a big deal. People love that, especially on the beach. So you can charge a premium for new construction. These are things that aren't taken into consideration. Say you're in the city. I know a host that's adding Pelotons to the property. OMG, that's huge. But that's not taken into consideration. So that property is not going to be average because it has a Peloton. So those are some of the things that we start to venture into more of the luxury, the higher end aspect of things. And because of that, I can calculate about 35% increase, 30 to 35% increase based on some of the things that I was mentioning. Say you have a cabin and you want to add like a fire pit or a outdoor fireplace, you know, that's like a $10,000 project. However, if you calculate it and you're going to get your ROI on that, by all means. So all of those things I just mentioned and I just listed there for you are definitely an opportunity for you to be a part of that top 75% and top 90 percentile of that market. So those are the ways that I try to stand out. I'll add an exercising machine. I'll add a workstation for the workers, make sure Wi-Fi is fast. And on the beach, all of those things, whether it's a kayak, a kayak, a standing paddleboard, golf carts, bicycles, those things are huge. The top properties, those are the amenities that they carry. And so for that reason, I definitely add those in. And a cheap, quote unquote, cheap amenity is definitely becoming pet friendly, figuring out a way to accommodate for pets. People are traveling a lot now. They want their pets with them. If you can somehow swing that, that's going to definitely help, you know, put you up in search for sure. You're going to be one of the top properties because not a lot of properties are pet friendly. Okay, so I just want to pause here for a moment to see if we have any questions before I move on to the revenue. Well, I'm going to go in here and then move on to revenue. Any questions right now? Okay, so again, this is average daily rate, guys. All right, so down here is, I spend a lot of time down here. So this is kind of those quartile views. It gives you the range. So we're going to see the lowest 5% all the way to the top 95th percentile. Okay, so for instance, June 2018, the average daily rate was 802. However, the lowest 5% made $451 per day. Okay, and the top 95th percent was $1,855. Okay, down here, January 228 to 957. Let me look at another. Okay, February of 20, 268 to 1494. So very, very important, right? So 354 to 1699. And so what's great is that this is, it's filtered out all of the other properties except for the 5 bedrooms. So out of all the 5 bedrooms, the lowest made 354 and the highest made 1699. And so what are some things that impact properties that fall into the lower tier, we live and die by ratings, right, guys? So in Airbnb, Vrbo, this short-term rental industry is not just landlording, it's actually a hospitality industry. And so as soon as you start to get really bad ratings, it's hard to overcome it. So especially if it deals with cleanliness, that is a hot topic and it's a very sensitive issue right now. It's always been kind of not a good thing to not have a high cleanliness score, but right now with COVID, it's really, really a big deal. And so once you start to get negative ratings due to cleanliness or negative ratings due to poor communication or missing key products that folks are expecting. For instance, they're expecting a coffee maker. You said there's a coffee maker, there was no coffee maker. It sounds like, oh, whatever, but they get really, really upset. And so you will get a negative rating. And if you're part of that lower tier with the lower tier, it's usually because there are negative ratings and now you have to kind of drop your price to start to generate interest again in order to hopefully bump it back up eventually and get those negative ratings diluted by some positive ratings. Okay, any questions about these so far? Okay. Okay, so next let's look at revenue. All right, let's see here. Again, entire home. We're going to look at 5-bedroom. And I'm not looking at the 50th. I'm not going to be average. I'm going to be above average. So 75 to 90 percentile. Okay, so the revenue, and let me. Okay, yeah, that's what I had assumed. So the revenue, the monthly revenue for 5 bedrooms at the 70th percentile back in June of 2018, for the month of June, they made $25K. June of 19 was about $26K. June of 20 was $30K. And then the 90th percentile made even more. Now the peak, January, again, is the trough or the lowest point. So we have 4K in January. Okay, December, 6K. January is 5K. December about 5K. January is 5K. February, so it goes back up. So what's interesting about this market, and understand the market, it peaks June, July, August, but it appears to peak again. Let's see, it goes down. I would say March, April-ish. So for me, based on my calculations, my months where I can generate the most revenue is from April 1st to September 1st. Or September 30th, something like that. So from April to September are my biggest months that I can make revenue. So with, again, these, these properties, definitely when you understand the peak months and you understand kind of the seasonality sway, you do not want to just let the prices that you use year round stand. You want to be monitoring that bad boy every single day, monitoring the revenue to make sure you're hiking that pricing all the way up so that you can benefit from the rush. So also another thing I look at is the lead time. And that is something that I find, I'll show you real quick in the seasonality So the lead time for June, so if someone wants the property in June, they're booking it about 3 months in advance. So by March, I want to be really looking at the June and making sure that I'm manipulating those numbers every single day to not only make myself marketable, but to ensure that I'm getting a part of that profit share during that time. So 80-day lead time in June, 94-day lead time in July, 88-day lead time in August. So about 3 months is the lead time. The average is 80. Okay, look, for December, for instance, the lead time is about, it's a little over 3 months. November as well. So that's going to be really important to look at. Okay, any questions on the historical at this time, the revenue? Okay, smart rate, I don't really go with any rates that Airbnb provides me. And that's primarily because Airbnb, it's almost like I want to call it a little bit of a conflict of interest. Airbnb just wants people to book. Of course, that's their goal. And even if they were to recommend a pricing to you that's like way lower than you think you're worth, they'll recommend that. So I never use smart pricing with Airbnb. I do know that they're making strides to improve that, I think, but I wouldn't use pricing with Airbnb at all. So the smart rates, I typically, I'll glance at it, but I really skip over it. So pacing is something that I do look at as well. So this is interesting because it's kind of like real-time data. And so if you're looking at, for instance, we are this week of March, so 80% of the properties are booked right now, and the median prices are listed there. And so I just kind of go through it, but what's telling for me is when I go out here, you have 50% of the properties are booked, and still you have quite a bit that are available. However, the ones that are available, the median prices for those rates are at $365, whereas the ones that are booked, if they're already booked at $485, to me, that is leaving a lot of opportunity out there, maybe like $100, $120 worth of opportunity. So if I wasn't booked right now in July, I wouldn't necessarily be rushing to reduce my prices. I would just wait patiently, because if I know that my property is a top property and all of these properties that are booked at the higher rate, there's no reason for me to leave my daily rate, you know, at $365. So that's kind of what I look at when I'm reviewing the pacing. And that's another thing also. So when you go into the vacation rental markets, a lot of times you will find properties and property owners that manage, that have managed their properties. They have a property management company that's been there for years and years and years. And when they provide you the rent roll, how much rent they've been collecting or how much vacation rental rent they've been collecting for years and years, I would take it with a grain of salt, really, because if the property is in decent condition and it's something that you could really work with and improve, like you're improving your property, Heather, I would really take it with a grain of salt, because once you get in there, you can really do what you want with that property and up the ante a bit. you know, some, you know, this right here is case in point. You have properties that are, they seem to be a little bit mismanaged to me. Properties where they're not really optimizing, they're not really utilizing revenue strategies in order to, you know, gain as much revenue as possible. And so for that reason, I would say just take it with a grain of salt if you do encounter properties that do not seem to, you know, be profitable. Don't just utilize the rent roll that's provided to you. Always ask for it. You can take a look at it, but know that there's definitely opportunity for improvement to get better rates and to make improvements so that you can have a property that's in the top 75th, top 90th percentile. I hope that makes sense. I kind of rambled on there. Okay, so we have rate analysis, booking trends. That's pretty much all I look at there. So this is really important as well. Okay, so this is where AirDNA provides for you a look at the seasonality. The darker red colors are where this season is very, very low, and the darker greens is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. And so this is kind of what we were talking about. So June and July are the highest rent, highest average daily rates that you can collect. So the RevPAR is the revenue per available rooms. And that is a data point that actually the hotel industry uses. So we don't say per available room because we don't typically rent by the room. So I would say per available rental. So RevPAR is going to be your revenue per available rental. And so it pretty much tells you how much revenue that's generated that month per available rental, whether or not it was occupied. So it lumps everything together. So if a whole bunch generated zero revenue and just one generated like $100, then you'll get a very, very low RevPAR, if that makes sense. So like for the month of March, a very low RevPAR, right? April, you start to get some higher RevPAR up in here, okay? And then May, got a lot of green. And you can play around with that. But then you want to, again, filter it down to your particular property. And you'll see what it looks like for 5 bedrooms. And so it's pretty similar as well. So for the month of March, March had the lowest RevPAR based on just first glance. The second lowest looks like either September, October-ish, but May, June, and July had the highest. And so April seems like things start picking up around April. Use your strategies. April to September 1st-ish. I think this is Memorial Day. Yeah. November, December, January. Yep. So that's kind of what we expected and what we were discussing. And booking lead times, very, very important. It kind of tells you when to start to adjust your rate. And so the revenue platform that I use is Price Labs. I know Beyond Pricing and Wellhouse Price Labs, I think they all pretty much do the same thing, but I prefer like a flat monthly rate as opposed to someone taking a percentage out of my revenue. And so I like Price Labs a whole lot. Do any of you use any or have any of you played around with any revenue management tools like Price Labs, Beyond Pricing?
I have not.
Okay.
I have, but they seem to be a lot lower than what I charge.
Okay. Who said that? Was that you, Debbie?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I found I think you can adjust the base and the lows that you're willing to take. I found that it's been the full gamut. Like some are very low and then some are extremely high. So it's like interesting. All right, so of course it's based on the data and what the market is doing at the moment. And so that's really why or how they assess that. Okay, I was thinking that we might have to do a part 2 to this, and it looks like we will. But before we jump into part 2, I did want to go through with you guys what I use in terms of the rentalizer in here in order to kind of do my calculations. So let me put in an address. This is the address of the neighboring lot that just completed their construction. Here. And I'll kind of show you what I look at. Okay, so I put in the address. It is a 5-bedroom, 5.5 bath, 16 guests, no, 14 guests. And once I update it, okay. So again, average daily rate, occupancy rate, annual salary. Again, this is average. Okay. And so the next step I would take, and I think we might have some time, we just have 4 minutes, but the purchase price. So all in, I think I'll be at about 600. As far as expenses, management fee 20%, no way. I self-manage. Cleaning fee, I would say probably, okay. Maintenance, if it was old, maybe 5K, but it's new, 3K. Insurance, 4,500. HOA is 150. Utilities, off the top of my head, not sure. I'll just put in 10K for now. And other is going to be, okay, like the mortgage. Okay, so this is annual. Okay, so I put in my annual operating expenses and I list them there. Home furnishings, thinking about 20K. Home improvement, closing costs, other, nothing at this point. And so my calculation is the down payment is going to be somewhere around, I would say 90K. With the annual let's see, operating expenses, 81 or 82K. Net operating income of 88K. My cap rate is listed here at 15%. So the cash, and we can go over this the next time we get together, but for me, cash on cash, if I can make my cash on cash back, I think within 3 years, for me, it's a good deal. 5 years is a good deal, but 3 years is a good deal as well. And so the cash on cash return on this is going to be, 1 second.
Rachel, what do you want to make back in 3 to 5 years? The whole cost of the house?
No, my out-of-pocket cost. My out-of-pocket cost. So my down payment, closing costs, whatever that I'm out of pocket, I want to make that back in 3 to 5 years. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So I'm getting about 15% is my cash on cash. And so this was with some loose numbers. Cleaning was 12. Actually, I went too high in utilities. So if I'm out of pocket by 90K, it's going to be my out of pocket cost as far as the down payment, that initial amount that I'm investing. So to get cash on cash, I do my net operated income over my total cash invested. So net operating is 96,405 divided by 90. I think I'm missing one of my numbers, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, when I calculated, it was about 15%. And so a lot of times with rental property, a lot of people go by the 1% rule. If you're able to get 1% of your rent for a long-term rental, that is a good deal. For instance, if you purchase something for like $100,000, if you're getting $1,000 per month in rent, that's like the 1% rule. And so my properties, I definitely make sure it gets not only the 1% rule, but I can get even more than that, 3 to 4 times that amount in revenue coming in. So get back my initial costs. And if I can get that back, I then roll that into a down payment for my next property. And I know this property is really, it's astronomically high. It just happens to be what I have access to in terms of the property that I'm working on right now. But our first property, the revenue was like a fraction of this, maybe like 30,000 a year, 40,000 a year, and a fraction of the cost as well. But this happens to be, you know, as we progress through. So any questions, guys? I know we're at the top of the hour. I hope this was helpful.
I have a question. How far in advance do you let people book?
Oh, thank you for asking that. Okay, so that's a great question. So this property that we actually have that we are building, you remember how I showed you the lead time is 90 days? 90 days out, I'm going to list it. Whether it's finished or not, I'm going to start listing it, even if it's not complete. So in the beach community, I allow them to book about, I open my calendar for the year. In more of the subdivision community in like suburbia, about 6 months.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I have a question. The property that's on the beach, you purchased the land and bought it, or it's in a subdivision?
It's in a subdivision and it is a piece of land that I purchased. So both.
Okay, I got you. So you purchased a lot in the subdivision that you're building. So you didn't have to clear like with the deed restrictions and covenants to make sure that a short-term rental was okay with that particular developer?
I'm glad you asked. So that is a vacation rental community that primarily caters to short-term rentals. So yes, always look into that and make sure that you are in a short-term rentable community. So that is very important. Before you even make any move, regulations come first. So that's really, really, really important. So
Thank you.
yeah, I know that community is short-term rental friendly, and a lot of the properties in there are short-term rentals. But if it is not a short-term rental friendly community or Airbnb-able community, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole for our business. Any other questions, guys? So I really hope this was helpful. So for next week, and you know what, if you guys have not yet, can you please add your email address to the chat so that I can send you the calculator that Avery Carl shared last week. Oh, I have some questions in here, guys. No. Okay, so here's some email addresses. Oh, great. Are you getting funding at 85% LTV? That's a good question. Share your funding sources. Yes, I am getting anywhere from 85% to 90% LTV. And I will share my lending sources with you. I'll email them out. I have 2 excellent lenders, and I intend to bring them on to talk with us about what products they have and how we can qualify for some good loans. So what's great about vacation rentals, you're allowed to have 1 vacation rental per market. So we have one in like the Rosemary Beach, Panama City Beach area. We have one in, we're starting another construction in the Smoky Mountains. We have one that we're starting in Port Anasas, Cinnamon Shores in Texas. And so we're just gonna make our way through and just get one in each market at 10% down, because it's considered a second home and you can take advantage of that second home benefit, which is the 10% down, guys. So I definitely want to take advantage of that. And technically you're allowed 1, but you can squeeze in 2. One of my lenders kind of goes through how you can actually squeeze in 2. And so I'm really excited about that. And I can't wait to share that with you guys too. Okay, so I'm gonna take these phone numbers or these email addresses before
I have another question.
yeah.
Do you know how it works? So like I do have dogs, or I let dogs come, and I charge a dog rent of $5 per day per dog. And then I took a $2,000 deposit, but I don't really understand like how it works on the tenant end or on the guest end. Do you know like how a deposit works versus just doing your own insurance?
Yeah, so you're taking the deposit through the Airbnb portal or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, Airbnb holds it typically. Sometimes they hold a portion of it, sometimes they hold all of it. It just depends on the guest and their track record. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but the bottom line is if there is an incident, you have up to 14 days to file a complaint with Airbnb in order to get that $2 back, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that does.
So as long as you're within 14 days, you should be good to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let me see what other questions. Okay, when did I start? I started my business 3 years ago, guys. 3 years ago. Yeah, and so the reason I actually wanted to do long-term rentals, and I did analysis of paralysis for maybe 5 years. And so we were looking for some way to accelerate our portfolio. And when we did the math, oh my gosh, right? So short-term rentals was tremendously more profitable than long-term rentals. So we went all in, you know, the properties that we purchase aren't going to be, you know, kind of the grab bag properties. We started going for those, but just since we work full-time, my husband and I, we just did not have I don't think the ability to manage the property and to manage the people in the more challenged areas. So we went short-term rental all the way, and we love it, love it, love it. Our properties aren't going to be the cheapest properties, and we don't collect, like, we're not the rock stars that are buying one property a month. I'm like a turtle, y'all. It's like one property every like 6 months to a year. Turtle, slow as molasses. And so it's not going to be a fast situation, but it does compound rather quickly. I do self-manage remotely 100%. So we have one in Arizona also. So just like I don't know how to fix plumbing, I don't know how to fix any of that stuff. If something were to happen, I have to call someone anyway. So that's what, that's what I do. I do that for the Arizona property. I call and I phone a friend, and they have to come and help and get it fixed. I rely so heavily on my cleaning crew. My cleaning team is like my boots on the ground also. So they go into the property. First thing they do, they make sure that nothing's missing. If something's missing, they let us know as soon as possible. And then, they do the cleaning. So I hope that answers your question.
Do you provide a list for them so they know, or because like I just noticed all my hangers are missing, and I was like, oh my gosh, when did that happen? Like, do you have a listed item?
List and pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So pictures.
Okay. So like a picture of how the room would be set up, because I have to do for 30 days because it's not friendly here, and like people rearrange stuff. So I could see how that would be helpful too.
Oh yeah, pictures of how it's set up. I open every drawer in the kitchen so they could know, okay, there was a can opener, there was a wine bottle opener, there are 2 glasses, how everything is set up. All cabinets are open. They have pictures. Even the refrigerator, I want them to see it's empty with 4 bottles of water for the guests. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Pictures are very important for remote. I'm looking through here, guys. Did I miss any questions, guys? I think I got them all. I'm gonna double check this out. I do not want to lose your email addresses again. Okay, I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Oh, okay. So I think that's it. Yeah, I've got everything. So for next week, guys, you guys let me know. I want you to kind of gauge it. What's going to be helpful for you guys? I actually have a guest speaker that is going to be covering a different market. So every month I want to cover a different market with you guys to let you all kind of get a feel of that market. So we've already covered the Southeast market. So if you were not able to attend, Avery Carl, again, she's a rock star in the Southeast market. She's found great deals for me. Her talk was a couple of weeks ago, and it was phenomenal. She went over, if you only had 20K, where would you start out of all of those markets? Because those markets are quite expensive. The Southeast, the Smokies, the beach. And so I would highly recommend that you go back and take a look at that. It's in the replay section of the members portal. For next time, I'm going to be covering the Poconos. I have a dear friend of mine. She manages properties and she owns properties in the Poconos. Is everyone familiar with that area in Pennsylvania? Anyone? So Pennsylvania, very, very profitable. Okay, awesome. Deborah says yes. Okay, so Svetlana, she is going to be our next guest. She's going to be covering the Poconos, the profitability, how she gained profitability even during COVID. She her properties made a lot of money. She made her property owners a lot of money as well because she does manage properties and she's in the process of building a resort.
Sorry, that's cool.
Cool. Yeah. So she is a rock star, guys. And so the Poconos is going to be our next property that we covered. And so just as a reminder, I am using the Best Places to Invest document that I shared with you guys a while ago. And I just go through this thing and I invest based on what the data says in here. And so the largest markets, so if we look at, we've covered probably about a third of this large market area. And so we'll make our way all the way to California and hopefully we get to Hawaii. I've got a wide list of folks that definitely would be happy to share. And so I've got rental owners in Hawaii. I can bring on for you guys. I've got, okay, Pocono Summit. This is where she works and operates. And so we've already covered some of this as well. So if you haven't received this document, I can send it. I'll send out a blast, email blast to everyone to make sure that you all have the information that we covered over the past few classes. And so if there's a specific market that you're interested in, shoot me back an email and I'll get a speaker from that market, whether it's homeowners or a realtor who's very skilled or a lender or all of the above, to make sure that you guys are getting the information that you need to make the most informed decision possible. So with that being said, I think we're over time, guys. Usually we stop at the top of the hour, but I just looked at my calendar, so I had a few more minutes. I was happy to share. Oh, looks like we have one Q&A. How do you recommend finding a good house cleaner? Ooh, that's very controversial. It's not easy. It really is. It's not easy finding a good house cleaner. My interview process is very rigorous. I actually go through it and I ask a lot of questions about experience. I want to know how many Airbnbs you clean per month, because cleaning of Airbnbs is very different from cleaning a regular house. And even my house cleaner, she's excellent. My personal lady, she's excellent, but she wouldn't be able to clean an Airbnb the way that we would expect, you know, an Airbnb to be cleaned. So I put a listing out and then I interview multiple candidates and I have a lot of questions, and training is, it's in depth for sure. Expectations are to be met. And if not, when I get the 5-star ratings, the cleaners are incentivized. However, if we don't get ratings, let's just say the cleaners are decentivized, is that a word? For sure, because, you know, having a home that's not clean is not acceptable. And so, and that's for the cleaners that I work with. However, if I'm looking for cleaners and I don't know where to find cleaners, we're being recorded, right? I wouldn't say cheat, but I utilize my resources. So I look for properties that on Airbnb that have excellent ratings, excellent cleaning ratings. And I figure out a way to find who those cleaners are. Okay, and that's either through communicating, you know, creating relationships, you know, with those that are in the area to find out who those cleaners are, because those 5-star ratings are really dependent on the cleaners. The cleaners make or break those ratings, you know, amongst other things. So if I see someone who actually self-manages, not a property manager, an individual that self-manages their properties, 50, 60 reviews, 4.9 and up, I need that cleaner. I need that cleaner in my life, or that, you know, anyone associated with that cleaner, I need them in my life. And that's pretty much how I've been sourcing good cleaners in markets that I'm not familiar with or I'm just breaking into. I hope that helps. Okay, the replay was on, I have a question about the replay for Avery. On March the 9th is when Avery was with us. 3-9 was the replay. Would you suggest I establish my first SCRM? Yes and no. If you're new, you can establish your first short-term rental in your area if it is an area that would support the business. And so if you're in a rural Atlanta market, okay, yeah, that might be good. We do know that a lot of regulations are coming down right now. So definitely look into the regulations before starting any short-term rental. But yeah, I would start in my area if my area is definitely an area that receives travelers. Okay, and those areas do not always necessarily have to be vacation beach or whatnot. For me, the areas that receive travelers are typically areas with universities, areas with hospitals, areas with airports, areas with hotels. The visitor board has a lot of good information. So if it's deep, deep rural, unless it's one of those cutesy town rural that has all the little shops, I wouldn't start an Airbnb in an area that doesn't really support Airbnb. Yes, zoning is definitely who to check with to find out what the rules are around Airbnb. So some areas require registering, some areas requiring you being in that vicinity or you being in that home, and so on and so forth. I do not have any personal insight into the Jacksonville area, unfortunately. But I think what I've heard, all I've heard is positive in terms of vacation rentals or short-term rentals. That's as far as I can recall, but don't quote me on it. I would definitely look into the zoning as well. And let's see. This document has all the up and coming areas. So I see Satellite Beach, Crystal River, Captiva. These are the mid markets, or yeah. And let's see, Florida. Apollo Beach. Yeah, I don't see Jacksonville. But definitely look into it, and we can go over how I use Airbnb to look into my surrounding area to advise on what my competitors are doing, just to get an idea of the feasibility. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Yeah. So the recording, I see a question about the recording. The recording should be made available fairly soon. I'm thinking within the next 5 to 7 days. And I'm going to copy and paste some emails. I'm just like so panicked to not lose any emails, guys, like I did last week. So I'm going to do that real quick. And thank you so much for joining me today. Yay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye now. Seven to 10:22. Okay, I think I have all. Dolores, did you ever figure it out?
Figure out what?
I think you were having screen sharing issues. Were you ever able to see anything?
Oh, no, that wasn't me. Yeah, I was able to see everything.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, everything's going fine.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.